Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm re-sharing with you my no-chill sugar cookie dough recipe. Here are a few examples of the cookies I've been able to make with my cookie dough recipe. At the end, I will post a link to my website where you can find a copy of the full recipe, and let's get started. To start, we are going to use 1 cup of unsalted butter at room temperature. If you do substitute for salted butter, make sure that you reduce the salt in the recipe by a 1/4 teaspoon. To get the best results, make sure that you let your butter sit out at room temperature at least for 2 hours before using so that it can be a little bit of that squishy consistency. Next, we will use 1 large egg, 1 1/4 cups of granulated sugar. You can also feel free to substitute granulated sugar for icing sugar. At this point, we are going to let all of these 3 ingredients mix together for approximately 2 to 3 minutes. My goal when creating this recipe was to avoid spreading and to avoid chilling my cookie dough. So what I did is I actually reduced the amount of baking powder that we're using. And since we are only using 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, I still want my cookies to have a good kind of doughy, soft-ish consistency. So the point when mixing here is to make sure that the eggs fluff up so that when we mix in the flour and we make the dough, it's not so bland and it's not so flat. Once we're done with this step, you'll notice that the end result is a little bit of a fluffy, grainy paste, and that's exactly what we want to give our dough a little bit more volume. Before adding any of your flour, make sure that you grab a spatula and you just kind of scrape the corners and scrape any of your paste off of your blades just to make sure that everything incorporates correctly once we add the flour in. Now that that's ready, let's go ahead and add 3½ cups of all-purpose flour. And while doing this, you can also keep scraping the edges just to make sure you have everything in place. Now we're adding a 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, one tablespoon of pure vanilla. You can also substitute artificial vanilla here, but this is what I always have on hand, but feel free to substitute for any other flavoring you like. Now for this next part, you're going to see me pulsating my stand mixer. That's just because I want to avoid making a mess. This part will take approximately 2 to 3 minutes for the dough to come together, and you'll start noticing that it's going to look like sand, but it's going to evolve into stages. At the end, this is the consistency that we need. We need a dough that is not going to stick onto your gloves or your hands, and that is not sticking on the side of your bowl. This is the reason why this dough does not have to be refrigerated and you get very little spreading. I have gotten several questions about the funfetti dough, so at this point, if you do want to make this a sprinkled dough, you will go ahead and add a half cup of rainbow jimmies, and make sure that when you're adding them in, you only mix them for about 20 seconds. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a little bit helpful, and don't forget to get the full recipe on my website, which will be listed in the description box below. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!